Welcome along again to what is now the third chapter in a Highlander story, and without further ado I will ask today's guest to introduce himself, where he was born and how old he is.
I'm Pat Ferguson. I was born in Barrhead, 1954, and I'm aged 71 now.
What rank did you achieve in the army, Pat?
Reached the rank of colour sergeant.
Good. I thought I might mention your nickname first right from the start.
Well, it's a good thing because a lot of them in the battalion only know me as my nickname.
Correct, Dingus.
Aye.
So where did that come from and how did you earn it?
It was a chap in the battalion, a lot of guys will know me, was for Wick, Billy Page. I ran about with him when I first went to the battalion, and he just says to me one day, "I'm not calling you Pat or Paddy." He says, "I'm going to call you Dingus." I says, "Where did that come from?" He says, "I'll leave it to you. You find out where I got it from." And it's Dirty Dingus McGee.
Right.
It was a cowboy film, but I don't think I've even seen it.
Yeah, it's something for you to Google. So you were born in Barrhead, as you said. So what was it like growing up in Barrhead?
Back then it was good. Well, all the kids then, but it's not like now where they've got the computers and all that. We used to go away fishing and go swimming up the dams and stuff like that. It was all things like that, and we always played football. There was football on a Saturday, football on a Sunday, football during the night. Not during the night, at night time in the old cornfield and up the Cowan Park, stuff like that. But it was mostly all football. Barrhead High School, where Gregor Fisher went to. He was about 4 classes above me.
All right. Were you saying that? So you obviously did a lot of physical activity when you were young.
Aye,
Yeah.
aye. It was always no meaning to go for a run, but we were always running, mostly for the police when we were stealing apples.
Yeah, the stuff we do as kids. Do you have any military background in your family?
My father was in during the war, but he had 3 court martials. He didn't like it.
All right.
He was surprised when I says I wanted to join the army.
So that all brings me on. What made you think about joining the army?
I joined the cadets in Barrhead. I was
Right.
underage, but the boy that was in it, a guy called Robert Cahoon, who was a really good friend of mine, he's passed now, but he sort of looked after me when I was younger. He was a butcher, and he used to take me on a Saturday to the butcher shop in Johnson, and I would help in the butcher shop. But he was a guy that was in the cadets and says, "Just join." I says, "I'm too young." He says, "I'll get you in." So I think I'd done about a year or something in the cadets.
And did that spur you on to actually
Aye.
joining the army?
Aye.
So influenced by the people in it, I presume, in the
Aye.
cadets. Yeah.
In fact, the guy, the cadet sergeant, the permanent staff guy, was a guy called Docherty. We called him Doc. He's still serving now in the cadets. I think he's a lieutenant colonel now. And I met him at one of the remembrance parades and talking away to him.
Small world.
Aye. But I left the cadets to join the army.
So how old were you when you joined the army?
15 and a half. I left school at 15. I worked for about 4 months in the Barrhead woolly work. And then I just joined up.
Were you academically inclined to come out at that time?
No, never had a qualification till I joined the army.
That's it. So what was the recruitment process like? Where did you go and how did you get on there?
Right, it was a guy called Bob Kern, Argyle, who was a recruiting sergeant, and he came from Barrhead. My father knew him, knew his family as well, and his brother was the local butcher, Frank Kern. It was him that came to my door. I had sent away a wee thing there was a wee thing in the paper, he interested in joining the army. So before I even mentioned it to my dad, I filled it in. And Bobby Kern came to my door. My father says, "What are you after?" He says, "I'm looking for Patrick." He says, "Oh, what's he done?" He says, "No," he says, "he's wanting to join the army." So my father brought him in, shouted at me doing, I think I was up the stair or something. we started talking about it, and then he gave me pamphlets and all that. And when he spoke to my mother and father, then when he went away, my dad says, "Are you serious about this?" He says, "I hated the army." He says, "It's not an easy job." I says, "No, I quite fancy it because I had been in the cadets." That's how it all started.
So, you've got no background in Seaforth or Camerons or?
No.
No.
In fact, see when I went to the recruiting office and I'd done all the tests and all that, they showed me different regiments, and I seen the blue hackle and I says to him, "Are they all Rangers supporters?" He went, "Aye, definitely." He says, "They're all Rangers supporters." I says, "Well, I want to go to them."
Pat, that must be the craziest reason I have heard anybody say for joining.
That's the truth. I never knew.
I wasn't doubting you for a minute, but I know myself that I'd never heard the Queensland Highlanders.
Aye.
You know what I mean? And I was kind of, I'll use the word conned into joining them rather than somewhere else, but I'll leave it at that.
Aye.
So, you were then a boy soldier. Where did you go?
Shorncliffe. It was Junior Infantry Battalion in.
And how long did you spend there?
Just over a year. About a year, 4 months or something.
That doesn't seem very long.
No, wasn't it?
Then what happened?
For there, I went to the depot, Glencourse.
Right.
Because the battalion was in Germany. So I had to wait. So we were mucking about and not doing any training. In fact, we were building the lockers for the recruits that was there, for the rooms at Glencourse.
So how old were you then?
16, maybe. Would that be right?
With what you're saying there, you'd be 16, maybe 16 and a half.
Aye,
but
that's a bit right.
Surely you had to be 17 and a half to
Well, maybe I was there a bit longer.
No. I don't know.
I know I wasn't 18 when I heard to Germany because the battalion were in Ireland and I was in rear details because I was too young to go out to Ireland.
Can you remember what year this was?
So about 71?
71?
Aye.
Yeah.
It was up Bannerman or something. Is it up Bannerman?
Up Bannerman, yes, it was. Did you ever worn a kilt previously to joining the army?
No.
What was that like for the first time?
Well, you didn't get a kilt in the juniors. You got it when you went to the battalion. So I remember getting the stuff and got up and the spats. I says to somebody, "What do you do with them?" He said, "Just wash them." One of the jocks in the Delta company. He said, "Just wash them." But he never told me not to wring them out. So I wrung them out. All the bones snapped inside them. I was like a farmer's dog.
So where was your first posting away after that? When you said Ireland? Did you go to Ireland? You'd been too young. Yeah.
My first tour was, I think, where was it? Wee Hugh Monroe was my company commander, my platoon commander when they came to Delta Company. My first tour, and we went to Albert Street Mill.
Right.
But 14 platoon get sent out to the gasworks, and Wee Hughie was a platoon commander. He just joined the battalion. I think he'd just turned 18 or something, and he came to the battalion, and we went out there at the gasworks, and just below the gasworks we used to have an OP in the corner of the building that looked down onto the railway track, and there was a pub right across the road for it. But they used to use that railway track to test fire their weapons. And I mind I was up in the Sanger looking down, and I was looking at the letters on the pub. I says, "See if they fire tonight." I says, "I'm going to take that first letter out of the pub. Just kid on, I seen somebody and I'll take the letter right out of it." Christ, it started firing and I jumped down in the grun. Shouting in the cottle to come up. "They're shooting down below me."
An awakening. So, where did you actually serve in the regiment? So obviously you did Ireland.
Done Ireland, Canada, done Canada twice.
That's live firing. Yeah.
Aye, but I went there I had joined the recce platoon. Once I was in the battalion for a wee while, I'd done a cadre, done a NCO's cadre, then I'd done a recce cadre. So I went to the recce platoon. We had ferrets at the time. So I went out to Canada with the safety team to drive the ferrets while the battalion was doing their exercise. That was quite fun because they knew it was me and the ferret, but you were all closed down, but they started shooting at it. You could hear the rounds pinging off on the outside of it. Typical jocks, because at night they lingered up on lines, but we as a safety team, we went to the side, but we had T-bone steaks and all that. The guys were switched on the safety team. Used to get the T-bone steaks for the cuckoos, make a barbecue while the jocks were eating compo.
That didn't do well.
Yeah.
So so after Canada, then where'd you go?
I was all over. I went to America as well with A Company. I was recce platoon. I went as a driver, 432 driver. With Albert Duffus, he was my section commander. We went over there. That was a good tour. I'd been to Norway, skiing, doing the Langlof. Further on, we went to Norway, America, Canada. No, I said Norway, didn't I?
Yeah. Did you go to the Falklands, for instance, Hong Kong?
Yes, I was in the Falklands, aye.
Hong Kong?
Hong Kong, aye. I got posted back for Hong Kong. My son had a medical condition, but they didn't know what it was at the time. They just seen that he had bruises all over him. So that was a bit of a horrible time for me. I got promoted in Hong Kong. I got sent down to Brunei Jungle Warfare School.
Yeah.
I reckon I was doing good, getting promoted to sergeant down there, and Archie Gibson was my platoon commander, really good officer. And the next thing, they got a call, says you've got to get back to Hong Kong, there's something wrong with your boy. So I went up, I found out that it was up in the hospital, a cracked skull, and it affected him when because the planes were coming out low. I thought he just had a wee fright because the planes came out low, but never had a wee sort of shock thing. So I went out to the hospital, and this doctor says to me, he says, something's happened to your son. Your wife says that he fell out of the bed and banged his head. I says, aye, and what's wrong with him? Why? She says, well, he's covered in bruises. I says, what, in his head? She says, no, or his body. There's something not right here. We think your wife's been battering him, or you've been battering him. But I ended up in an argument. But anyway, they were still convinced it was me and the missus, and so we get, within 24 hours, we were shipped out and sent back to UK. I went down to the hospital down south somewhere. They were going to take the rest of the kids off us, and I thought, this is bloody serious. I'm just promoted to sergeant and I've gone through all this. I said, this can't be right. So anyway, I fought with the doctors down there, and I says, look, I'm taking the other 3 kids up the road, the other 2 kids up the road, and Kenneth, we'll come back down to stay with Kenneth. And we stayed with Kenneth, and they still couldn't find out what was wrong. We were still getting blamed for this. And I knew it wasn't true. So anyway, we ended up, they took us out of Edinburgh. He was a week in Edinburgh Hospital, and he went, your son's a haemophiliac. I says, what's that? I've never heard of haemophiliac. He says, he's got his blood doesn't clot, it just bleeds. I says, well, will that cause it? He says, that's what's causing the bruising as well. Even the nurses were just touching him with their hands. If they touched him, if they grabbed his arm or something too tight, it would bruise. So that's what I'm, so for my career from then on was posted to the depot till, when did I go back? I think it was Munster. That was the next time I went back to the battalion. It was a horrible, horrible time.
It must have been very traumatic.
It wasn't just that. It was when they heard about it in the battalion, people started believing it. you know, and they wouldn't say nothing to me because they knew what like I was, and my missus was okay, you know, we weren't having domestics or anything like that. But aye, it felt horrible. I felt like an outsider, and even when I went to the depot, the only job they could get me was adventure training. So I done all my courses and ended up an instructor. But even then, you could feel it with the company commander and stuff, you know. Oh, I don't know if I should have took you on coming here and stuff like that. But I never heard anything for the battalion. Not a thing. I think Jodie Anderson was the only one that contacted me after a long time. And he was just saying that I'm glad it's that, but I'm sorry to hear what it is. And I says to Jodie Anderson, because he was posted to Edinburgh for something. And he lived just down the road from me, so I used to go down and see him. And he says, I never knew how serious this thing was. I says, I think it's put a stopper on my career as well. But it didn't, because wee Charlie Miller came to the depot as well. He was a QM there. Honest, that man is honest, I looked at him like a fatherhead.
Yep.
Great man. What a organiser, what a great management guy is. And he used to talk away to me and all the rest of it. But he put me in for promotion a few times. But I couldn't pass my maths. That's what stopped me.
Well, of course, the exams you had to
Aye.
class 1.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye. But I enjoyed my time, don't get me wrong. I loved it. I just wish that never happened in Hong Kong. I wasn't really worried, but I loved the soldier and I loved the jungle. I'd been to Belize as well for 6 months, so with the recce platoon, and that was a job and a half. I loved that. Good platoon sergeants, good officer. Neil Lamb was a platoon commander out there. Bobby Towns, John Sutherland, and we George. I think we called him Uncle George. He was recruiting up in Elgin, then he could shipped it to us to do recce platoon. But he was a good lad. I liked him.
Was Richie Turner ever part of the recce platoon at that time? He'd moved on?
No.
He'd moved on.
At the beginning, it was. I remember Captain Hunter.
Yep.
Blonde guy, great officer, smooth, dead smooth, but he had a stutter. He was there, but he was also in the juniors with me. So I seen him there, but it was a Captain Smart that took over for him. But when I seen the recce platoon, I went, I'd like to join that with Hunter in it, and then Smart. Then Smart left, and then I think I got promoted to Lance Cottle. Smart had left, and it was a guy called Og who came for the TA, Lieutenant Og, or Captain Og. He was a good officer. And I remember the first task, there was a big BAOR exercise. So we had to go out and check all the roads to see if it could take a tank on a trailer, big oil tankers, would it get round the roads and all the rest, and we had to come in, there's a big map right across the thing, and mark it up. But you reckon it could take and all the rest. I was only promoted to Lance Cottle 3 weeks or something. And I thought, God, I'm going to stop a whole brigade exercise because I'm sending a tank up a wee track. Aye. But it was good. I loved it. And a guy called Ginge Laughlin, he was great instructor, great to go to and say, Ginge, he said, don't worry about it. This is what you do. Great man. That guy should have went further in the army, I reckon.
Ginge, I knew him. He helped with the Strathclyde branch of the association at one point when he was living in Glasgow before he moved to one of the new towns.
Aye.
Can't remember where now, to be honest. Well, that's obviously a very traumatic experience.
It was a horrible bit, but the army I loved. I loved it.
The thing, that's the problem with people.
Aye.
We're so quick to look at the negative in things rather than look beyond it.
It put me right in a downer when that happened to me, and I thought, I'm not getting any backing here. Nobody's believed me, And if I went in this, not just the Sarts Mess, if I went in anywhere, I could feel people staring at me and so I would say, yeah, that's a guy hurt his weighing or something, you know. It was horrible.
And nobody ever comes up and apologises after it when they find out
No.
that hold on, it's a medical
They just
condition.
left to go on with it.
Yeah.
That my life took a bad turn then. I couldn't concentrate.
Obviously you worked through it though.
Aye. But I went to the depot and I was making some mistakes, but nothing daft, you know, but it just took over me for a while.
So what rank were you then at the depot? Sorry.
Sergeant.
Sergeant?
Aye. Well, I got promoted in Hong Kong and sent back to there.
Yeah.
But I was a sergeant for a long time. And then I got posted to the Liverpool Scottish I went for the depot up to Fort George. Up to Fort George. I was in Fort George for a wee while with the recce. With Archie Gibson again. Then I got posted down to the Liverpool Scottish. We were going to Belize for the second time, and I think it was Billy Contray was RSM, and I went to see Billy, because Billy was a cottle in the recce as well. I says, Billy, I would rather get posted than go back to Belize. I says, because the marriage was getting a bit dodgy after been away all the time, tours of Ireland and stuff like that. I says, any chance of a posting? And at that time, Donny, I'll not say his name, but the guy got a TU'd, who was another good senior NCO, cracking guy, but something that happened with the admin officer. But I got the job down in Liverpool. I done 2 years down there.
How did that go?
That was great.
Yeah.
Oh, they're like Glaswegians. Great, brilliant people. You get them in on a Friday. If you keep them out the beer bar, get them out and exercise, it's brilliant. As soon as you come back after exercise at the weekend, get the rifles off them, then they're straight in the beer bar. But they're good, honest, great. A guy down there who's a big fatherhead to them all is a guy called Mick Molyneux. Mick is a gent of a guy, a real gent. But he was a boxer in his day, you know. But he would show you the ropes all around Liverpool, take you to the places, clubs and all that. Excellent.
Football?
Football.
And Liverpool, I mean.
Aye. No, round the corner was the training ground for Liverpool, where the house was. I used to look out the wall because Kenny Dalglish was there. And I used to shout at him, Kenny! And he would look out at the wall. But he was always in the front when he's running. Aye, some man. And I get really pally, a wee guy called Jimmy McVeigh, about another boxer, but he was a scaffolding guy. That was his job. But he was a character and a half, and me and him clicked it. We just got on together. He would come here and see me at the house. We'd go to his house and see him. Aye, really nice guy. But a lot of good guys down there, really good guys. Hughie, the colour sergeant, Johnny Hesp, who was a sergeant. Look, there was a few of them, but they're all good. Good. And before I went there, I wasn't too keen on DA soldiers. You know, Saturday and Sunday, but see, some of them are really, really keen and wanting to go on with it, you know, but I enjoyed my time.
So, the camaraderie down there, was there any particular, I know you mentioned Charlie Miller, for instance.
Aye.
I thought he was a tremendous guy. He was my first platoon sergeant.
Aye.
In the signal platoon when I joined the battalion. So, I knew him quite well. But who else is a significant, I know you mentioned a couple of names.
In the battalion?
Yeah.
Me Hughie Monroe, because I knew him if he was 18 and he just came to the battalion. I think I was in a couple of weeks before him or something. He's been good. And he even to this day, if I meet him, he goes, oh, Dingus. He doesn't know my right name. And Bob Downs was one as well in Aldergrove, when we were in Aldergrove. We played, I think it was the RAF Regiment or something, at sports in the Sarts Mess. And I was partnered with Bobby to play snooker. And the two guys came in and they went, how are you? I'm Bob Towns and all that. He says, Dingus, what's your right name? To introduce to them. They couldn't remember my name.
But it's amazing how these things do to go. I mean, I knew most people, as you probably done by yourself, is by the last 2 or last 3 numbers.
Aye. Well, there's a lot of that in the Scottish Regiment, and there hunters and McDonald's and all that.
Aye, McDonald's and Mackenzie's.
Campbell's.
Yeah. So, you got to the rank of Colour Sergeant. So, did you purposely try to improve your career when you started off? I'm going to be a Lance Corporal, or I'm going to be this or the next thing.
It wasn't.
Just happened.
No, I just loved the sojourn, but I loved it in the recce platoon, because that's where I get promoted. I was a driver in Delta Company, 432 driver. Then I went in there. I liked the sojourn. I liked nipping about in these open Land Rovers and stuff like that. You know, made you look like a hero, didn't it? But they even called us a mini sass at one time. But we were all keen as hell, the boys that was in it, really good.
I presume that was people who did Sharjah.
Aye, some of them did, aye. Arthur Anderson, I think he was in Sharjah now.
Yeah, there was an SAS detachment out there who had the pinkies.
Aye.
The pink Land Rovers, and that's what they did.
Well, I wasn't in Sharjah, but...
Yeah. Was there a particular moment or operational decision where you felt your leadership was truly tested?
Aye, 79, Crossmaglen.
Go ahead.
I was a section commander then. George Geddes was the other Cottle, and Larry Calder was the other one. Three good NCOs. I think we got tested to our limit there. The company commander, wee Hugh, was there. He was it training or something? I can't mind, but he was there. He was in the ops party, and with Billy Contray, Big Dan Ballach. But it was a good setup. Major Ridley, that man, he was a real commander, right? We went down there and we heard all the stories about it and all the rest of it. We'd done all the training. We were all fighting fit. NCOs were cracking. The jocks were switched on. You know, they knew what they were going into. Major Ridley put us out in patrol, 10 minutes in, 4 hours in, 30 minutes out. So the IRA didn't know where to expect us. We were in and out and in and out. Then there'd be a stop about 4 or 5 hours, nobody on the ground. So that part of it I thought was great, and I think we Hughie had a part of that as well, and Billy Contray sorting out the programmes. But aye, it was tough sojourn, but good sojourn. You learnt a lot, and that's what we were getting paid for. And I was quite chuffed with my section as well. I had young boys there who came up to the mark, you know, and when I seen them before we went out there, and I seen before we all got together, walking about the camp, and I went, I wouldn't have him in my section, you know, he's not going to handle this out here. But once they'd done the training, and then when we got there and got out in the grunt, they were good, they were really good.
Any significant finds when you were there, Crossmaglen?
There was a time we had a thing called the Joker, could detect where a bomb was, right? And we kept getting this bleeping. It was just off the square, and it's a part everybody kept using. It was a way of getting somewhere quicker than going away around the long way, and people were using it all the time, and it started getting a bleep. I came in one night, and I think I had been out for about 6 hours or something. I was shattered. Went for a shower and all that. I couldn't get to sleep, keep thinking about this bomb. I said, I know where that is. I know what, I'm sure. I'm going to tell the company commander. This was about 2 o'clock in the morning. Company commander was in his bed. I think it was Billy Contray. It was in the ops room. I says, Billy, I need to talk to Major Ridley. He says, how, what's wrong? I can't, listen, I'm knackered, but I just can't sleep thinking about this bomb. I want to show him where I think it is. Sure enough, Nick got up, went, right, show me. And I marked it. I says, there, I reckon that bomb's right there. where we pass out it was a wee bridge thing over that. I says, it's next to there. Eventually we found it because we done a big search of the whole area. Company commander was up in the helicopter and he seen a guy called Spotty McCabe coming for his girlfriend's house, lobbing the device to set it off. So we got that, and the actual device was about 20 metres from where I said it was. I was chuffed with that, really chuffed with that.
Just a feeling, a gut feeling.
Aye. And the guy, Spotty McCabe, Tam, what's his name? Big Tam, for Glasgow.
Tam Ballach?
Tam Ballach. He was doing the int at the time. He had a photograph of Spotty McCabe the size of a door, right? Because you always go, photographs and all that, we want this man. But we hadn't caught him before that. And I was doing a patrol on the lanes and a car came down and I stopped it. And I looked at him and I went, that's Spotty. And my 2IC was Remy Duncan. So I go into Tam and I says, we've got, just say Hector 1. Can you send out, they couldn't get a vehicle. There was no driving there, it was just walking. But I wanted the Port RUC to come out. Oh, they're busy, I can't get them out. So I says, okay, I'll get them in. I got my 2IC and 2 of the jocks to sit in his motor, right? And drive him into the base. And I says to, we call him Knife, McMillan. I says, you sit in the back seat behind Spotty. I says, see if he indicates left and he goes right, fucking shoot him. Spotty looked at me and went, you got a wee bit of a fright, you know, but they took him in. And we confirmed it was him and it was all chuffed, we got him then. But see when we finished Crossmaglen and we had a night out in the Kirknewton, company commander got me and George Geddes in and says, see, you've done a great thing for Spotty McCabe. I went, what? He says, he's kept hassling on him. George had him in a ditch one night and going to do him in. He says he was a supergrass and you gave him the best backup ever. Yeah. The things that happened.
So was that your proudest moment in the regiment or something else?
Nah, so I think that Crossmaglen was my proudest moment. My proudest bit of sojourn, I loved it. Aye. And I loved the backing we had with Wee Hughie, Billy Contray, Tam and the company commander. Really good.
It makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Aye.
You know,
because we lost young McMillan, 4'9", in the square. And we had an int officer was a young guy, blonde. I think he looked about 16, but I think he was only 18. He was told about 3 or 4 times that there's an antenna sticking out a derelict building's door, out the letterbox, at the bottom of the square. And I don't know if he never told them, or they never had time enough to tell the patrol when they were going out. It was Ian Morrell's, the platoon sergeant, who took the patrol out because George Geddes was away in education. They sent him for education for there. And so Ian, when he went round the square, the bomb went off and young 4'9" was a tail end Charlie and he got the back blast. But by the time we got back in, that officer was away, sent away, because he never passed the information on about this antenna.
Yeah, that's why it's called intelligence.
So I'm not blaming a young officer, but maybe he never had time to do it or something.
No, I mean...
But it's a thing that should have been passed on to everybody as soon as we were leaving out that camp.
No, but I would never even imply that. There's always like, no great intent to do somebody harm. No, I know that.
Aye.
So did your perspective on soldiering change as you progressed through the ranks?
In what way? What do you mean?
Well, for instance, you're a jock, so you can go out and have a drink, do all the mad daft things, and probably just, they'll call it useful exuberance or whatever.
Aye.
But then you need to set an example.
Aye.
that sort of thing. So,
I think when I went on, when I was going up the ranks, I was a platoon sergeant, but I was still their pal. I would still go out and have a drink with them. You know what I mean? I wasn't a strict senior NCO. I would talk to them and see what the score is. Well, what's happening? What's wrong with you? You know, but I did go and have a good drink with them. Aye. I was a friendly NCO.
there's many different ways to soldier. But yeah, I mean, I know I've met both.
Aye. I've came
the
across it, I know.
hardliners. Yeah.
And there's a few in the battalion that I wouldn't walk beside, you know.
So, is it, after all that part, is there any particular memory that even we look back today puts a smile on your face?
Just my time with George Geddes. Me and George I met him in Kirk Newton when he came back for the Argylls, and all I heard was this, right enough, no, the right Inverness squeaky voice. And I says to somebody, who's that? He says, so that's George Geddes. I says, well, who is he? I don't know, George Geddes. He says, oh, he was at Argylls, he went to Argylls, and then come back again. Then I met George, and when we were doing our Northern Ireland training, I went, he's a professional. He's a right professional soldier. Fit as fuck. Hardy, you know. To me, a real soldier, you know. Could talk to his men and all the rest of it. But my time with George, because it's funny, after Crossmaglen we had the tour and me and him got on great. After that we get posted to Liverpool together. So, you could tell he was the sergeant major and I was a colour sergeant, and we got on great. And down there we had fun, we worked hard. George used to beast the boys running. I'll say, I'll catch the stragglers, George. Aye. Just working with George Geddes was a pleasure. And I know he had his I wouldn't say weird times, but to me he was a first class soldier.
I think George would be delighted to hear that from you.
Aye.
You know what I mean? Knowing George.
And we've been muckers ever since. He still talks to me nearly every day.
So looking back on it, how did your time in the Queen's Own Highlanders shape you as a person?
Aye. I made a lot of good friends, and people remember this guy, David Blacklaw, when I went into Delta Company. What a sportsman. You know, he looked about 40 odds when I met him, right? But Christ, could he, even when I went gone to my junior NCO's thing in Brecon, David took me out running. Christ, he was like a whippet. And he was wearing the same kit as me. How can you do that? But a lovely guy, really nice guy.
So I know some of your experience after you left the regiment. So what did you do?
Right, when I came out, I worked for, who's my first job? Oh, I worked for Archie Gibson's brother-in-law, a company called Novagraph, putting things on the co-op windies, the big plastic signs and all that, sticking all that up. And used to go away in the van. A guy called Tony Stranach, who was in the battalion, he worked for him as well, Scouser. Tony, I think Tony still does it to this day. But he's done well in it. I done that. What was the other job I done? Driving the provost woman about. I got a job doing that. The woman lived. Her claim to fame with me was she knew me for I was an hour old. She lived 2 doors up, but she's a provost. But it was a hardy scheme, and she was a hardy old woman. Well, she wasn't old, but aye, she was a provost. She says to me one day, "You want to work for me?" I said, "Doing what?" She says, "Drive." I says, "A big jag, me?" She says, "Aye, I want you to do it." I was there a week, and a guy called John Butler in the battalion, another Scouser, he phoned George up, and George phoned me. He says, "You fancy doing a bit of security?" I says, "Where?" He says, "Up at the Edinburgh College. They're doing some animal rights thing. So there's protesters with two yous just standing at the door." I says, "Who's the two?" He says, "George Geddes." I says, "I'll stand with George." So anyway, we went up to do it. We were standing there and all these protesters were there. And one of them came over and went, "I believe you're doing security, but what about short ass?" George says to the guy, "What?" He says, "I'm not believing he's security." George says, "Pat, give your jacket." And the guy went, "All right, I believe you." I was just glad George was there because he'd have thumped him. Then for that, we went out to Iraq to do security. It was £280 a day or something. And George says, "You want to do it?" I says, "We'll go and try it anyway." So we ended up going out doing private security. John Butler had set it up for us. He got us a job. And we were out there for a few years. Went from Baghdad to Basra, and Basra up to Kurdistan. Done it up there. This was over a period of about 6-7 years we'd done that. And then a young guy, Skirvin was his name, Skirvin? Can't mind. He says, "You're getting too old for this." I says, "Oh, I'm no." I says, "I'm all right. I'm at the checkpoints and all that." I says, "We've got all used to look after me." He says, "No," he says, "I've got a good job for you." I says, "What you got for me now?" He says, "Working for a wealthy family." I says, "Where?" He went, "Saint-Tropez." I went, "I'll go." So I ended up going to the security with the family, the Hanburys. I was there a few years, but really enjoyed it with them. Nice. Oh, Mr. Hambury was nice. Mrs. Hanbury was lovely. All the family was lovely. But one of the daughters was married to an ex-para, and he wanted his own boys in. So I got sidestepped, and he brought a para in, and I left.
So, the time in Iraq, Afghanistan,
I
were
wasn't
you
in
looking
Afghanistan.
no, Afghanistan, was it Kurdistan? Sorry.
Aye.
What exactly, were you looking after people or places, sir?
Oh, in Baghdad, it was the Americans were trying to get the electricity and all that going again. So we would take them out. We would provide the cover for them, take them out if they're going to check something. There was one guy in Iraq, off one telegraph pole, was serving about 80 people, and he was charging dollars to plug it in. See, as soon as it rained, it all blew up. There was a wee guy living in a hut underneath it, I know. He was in charge of it. And it was just, right, you want electricity? Right, run a wire for here and throw it out to that house. And it's crazy. So that was one of the jobs we had. Then there was a lot of protecting the convoys, taking the convoys in and out. We lost 20 odd boys that day. A lot of them are locals that you train up yourself. They got, I think, about 2 South Africans and another English boy got blew up with it and all. But I was blew up twice myself and shot it 3 times. But we were all right. They blew up our tracker vehicle at the front. That lifted about 6 foot up in the air, and we had I had the client in beside me. Once all this dust came down, I just checked, make sure everybody was all right. Got the comms, and I says to the HQ, I says, "We're heading back right now at 100 and odd mile an hour."
Scary times.
There was some scary times, aye. But we were all buzzing. We were on a high, I think. Don't know what it was. It just the adrenaline was flowing because you were in amongst all this, and, you know. Aye. And the curbs are there. They were about the height of this couch. So if you're driving up a road with a client, You can't just turn off and say, right, my way, you've got to keep going. And I remember passing the corner one of the times, and there was about 4 of them with big knives down there, and they were looking at us. And I thought, God, if they get me, they're going to chop me up. And we're not going to get off this curb. You just got to keep going, this road, because the curbs are too high. We had to go about a mile along the road before we got out. It's like an ambush area. Aye, it was horrible. You had to be eyes in the back of your head watching them.
Constantly switched on.
Aye, oh aye.
But
But good guys. A lot of good guys were out there. Obviously ex-soldiers, ex-paras and all that, but your boss was ex-SAS. I'll not say his name, because he's been up to some, but aye, he was good, switched on.
What do you think the younger generation don't fully understand about life as a soldier now?
Aye. It's a different upbringing, same as a different upbringing for my father's time, you know. My life changed, he just worked. That's all he done, he just worked and then drank, but that was it. Now, you just look out in the street, they're on a phone. Everybody's on a phone, walking. They're no switched on out of the cars that's driving about. They just walk out on the roads and stuff. It's crazy. I think the future stuff it's took them away from going out and play, you know, and jumping in puddles, stuff like that, you know.
I mean, that's what I was going to, the reason why I asked you near the beginning was the physical activity before you joined, you know, when you were still at school.
Aye.
We seem to have lost a lot of the physical stuff. And we're more, as you said,
Technology now.
Technology. Into phones, into PCs, laptop, you know, the TikTok sort of generation. There's no physical.
No. If you sit down and this working from home stuff and all, it's crazy. You never think of that back in the day, working from home.
See, I found in my time, especially in Ireland, being brought up in Glasgow, I was streetwise. And an awful lot of them like that.
Aye.
Now.
Aye. But the whole world's changing now, but you know, some of the crazy stuff that's going on and murders and stuff like that, it's horrible.
So if somebody came to you today and says, look, I'm thinking about joining the army, what advice would you give them?
No, don't join the army. Join the Navy.
The difference being?
I would join it. Well, see the world, don't you? Well, you see the world in the army, but there's not as many wars or conflicts going on now. Well, there is now than there was in our day. And there's the Navy, well, you're firing your gun for 10 mile away or something, aren't you? Sitting in a boat.
I mean, obviously I just think they make big targets like a tanky. And my nephew was a tank commander, and as I said, that's an awfully big target for something to hit, you know. But we kind of downplay that a wee bit. I don't think the Navy would like to hear there's just one big target away, one rocket away for actually. But aye. So is there any one particular memory or story that defines your time or defines you as a Highlander? Because I would say that, as we talked about earlier there, but first time wearing the kilt and things like that, we don't consider ourselves Highlanders.
Glaswegian Highlander.
No, I mean, as kids, it doesn't really come into the vocabulary. You know, you think of people way up north as Highlanders. Now, what do you think? Do you think you're a Highlander?
Oh, aye. I'm a Glaswegian Highlander.
Aye.
I'll always be a Glaswegian Highlander. I loved being a Highlander. I loved the people. And when they were speaking their own Scottish tongue, you know, I thought it was great. I mean, I was up north as well. I loved up there, and I liked the way the Orcadians speak as well. Aye, but in the battalion, aye, there were some characters, Highlanders.
No, I was just going to say, Pat, that we called this thing a Highlander story,
Aye.
and simply because a lot of the people we're interviewing are older than the both of us,
Aye.
and you know, in their 80s, well into their 80s. So they were Cameron Highlanders or
Aye.
Seaforth Highlanders. But some have taken it in the direction that they became
Aye.
the Highlanders in you know, in '94. So it's got nothing to do with that. It's just the fact that they were at some point either a Cameron Highlander, a Seaforth Highlander, or a Queen's Own Highlander.
Aye.
So it's not the Highlander story, it's a Highlander story.
Aye. Well, I was a Queen's Own Highlander for my start at the time to the finish. I left just before they amalgamated with the Gordons, and I was quite happy being a Queen's Own Highlander, and that was it.
Yeah. I mean, I know you still stay in touch. I mean, I see you commenting on a lot in the Facebook. How important is that?
That's good. It's great. Even if I went into Glasgow, say, and I'm walking through the station and I see some, it's like you've not seen them for 30 years, 40 years. It's like you just, you know, you've been to the show and come back. It's amazing. You just pick up from where you left off. But it's good, and it's comradeship. It's really good.
That's that seems to be a thread that runs through the stories that I've done so far.
Aye.
It's exactly the same thing. You might not have seen them, as you said, for donkey's years.
Aye.
And then it's just click and you're back to where you left.
If you have a pint with them or a cup of coffee or something, they're away. You might not see them ever again, but it doesn't faze you. You know, it's just going, that's it. But you know he's still your pal.
Yeah, there's fewer and fewer of us every year.
Ah, well, aye. There's a lot up in the 2nd Battalion at the bar, the new, isn't there?
Yeah.
Quite a few of them.
So that's a significant reason of why I'm doing this as well.
Aye.
So, Pat, can I just thank you for your time?
No
It's
bother,
been a pleasure
George.
talking to you,
And
mate.
it's a pleasure to meet you again, George.
Take care.
One day we'll have a drama together.
Aye, no doubt.
Right.
You take care, Paul.
And you.